Hey guys, so in this video we're going to go over the Evasion Energy Shield Hybrid crossbow build that I've been working on. So this one actually pretty easy to swap to from the pure CI version, Energy Shield version that I was playing. Because pretty much all I had to do was get the Evasion Energy Shield Hybrid Armor base, and then the rest of the gear I'm still using everything from this the other setup, and just change the passive tree around. So actually playing this setup made me realize a couple of things. Well, first of all, this is definitely, without a doubt, the best gearing setup for defense, right? And in mapping or any kind of content. Actually, the pure Energy Shield version did feel a bit better in bossing. Because I guess, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, I'm not really running acrobatics because I don't have enough evasion right now. Right now sitting at about 8,000 evasion with source reward, so I decided to use source reward instead of acrobatics. But I do think once you get enough evasion, you probably swap over to acrobatics and use that. But the, I guess, main downside is when I was fighting the Breeeeech boss like Zesh T4, he has a lot of fizz hits that you cannot evade. So obviously, you know, the setup not really all that strong in defense wise in that. Okay, but aside from that, in maps, like, because we're running Ghost Grim Feast, so you can get like, you know, 11,000, 12,000 energy shield, and when I'm running maps, my energy shield is never going down. I'm never even seeing the bar go below 5,000 because of the Grim Feast stacks. So really tanky in maps, and definitely feels the best play out of all the different versions that I've tried so far. So I'm playing this on a Witchhunter, and it's because, well, I have a Witchhunter character. I don't really want to level another character, but as you can see in the passive tree, this build would probably be way better if you played it on a monk or a ranger, because you're just going to be that much closer to all of the nodes that we're going to be taking on the passive tree. So this build probably will work. I guess, you know, we can make it work on Witchhunter. That's what I'm doing, you know. You have a Witchhunter, you don't want to be bothered leveling a different character, then yeah, it works on Witchhunter, but probably going to be better on something like a monk. I really think monk would be really good for this, because all of the monk starting nodes are really good. Alright, so first I think what we do is we'll do some mapping showcases. We'll do a map boss, and then we'll do a breach. We'll go over the setup, and then finally at the end of the video I'll have a T4 Zesh full run so you guys can check it out and see what it looks like in action against some of the T4 bosses. Alright, so here we are in the map. Hopefully this map is going to be okay. And yeah, I think you can also probably spec the tree around a little bit to get more movement speed, because we are pretty close to a lot of like these movement speed nodes on the tree. So that could be something nice if you want to move a little bit faster. Like for me, I think this is fine, but I would like to have blink. I don't know, I think if you probably could get spirit in the build as well, because I don't have it on my amulet or my body armor, so, you know, there's room to fit it in. But look, here's these chaos things. You see, this is why, you know, going CI is, I don't know, just so good, right? Because all those kind of annoying things in maps pretty much aren't really a problem. But yeah, let's just go run over to the boss and see what it looks like against a T16 or T15 map boss. Alright, so we're at the boss. So let's swap some of the gems around. I am swapping the attack speed gem from my galvanic shards to shock burst for bosses. I mean, I probably don't even need to, because we've got like more than enough damage for these kind of boss kind of things, right? So let's just actually aim at him and kill him off. Alright guys, so we have the breach, so let's open it up and see what happens. And I think in this breach, guys, I'm not gonna ever even lose HP, or I mean, probably will lose the Grim Feast HP, but I don't think we are gonna drop energy shield below our base 5,000, just how like OP this kind of setup is, pretty much. I guess source reward does help quite a bit, because I guess in maps I think source reward is probably gonna feel the best, because there's a lot of elemental damage, and the amount of physical damage and like physical slams you would want to avoid with like acrobatics is I don't know, I think there isn't that much. I think that's more of like something that is you encounter with like bosses and that kind of stuff, right? Or at least what I've seen, right? So source reward in maps definitely is probably the way to go, I think. Man, these explosions, so amazing. And people kind of like shitting on Witchhunter, but those explosions are, I mean, you can't really beat that, right? Alright, so it's a breach. As you can see, did not even drop below 5,000 HP or energy shield, right? So yeah, this setup, definitely the best. Gotta say, probably even like #1 gearing option for crossbow. Alright, so let's go over the character. First of all, let's start off with the gear, and then we'll go over the passive tree and then the skills. So first of all, let's take a look at the gear setup. So basically identical to the pure energy shield setup, except we're using a evasion energy shield hybrid body armor. It's because of the, I mean, you guys probably already all know this already, but basically the spectral ward is going to give us extra energy shield from your evasion. So basically the trickster kind of stuff from PoE1 is we're going to be using, I guess that's why we're using the hybrid one. I have tried using like a 2200 pure evasion body armor, and that's like quite a bit less energy shield, but you do get more evasion, so maybe you could try that out. But I think staying around 5k ES is like pretty nice. Would like to get a bit more, and it is possible, right? You can get up to like 6k ES. At some point I was taking like this energy shield node, and there's quite a few other energy shield nodes around here. Like these small nodes are pretty big value, and if you somehow manage to make your way down into the monk area, there's some pretty nice nodes here. So can definitely get quite a bit more energy shield as well, so that's quite nice. And yeah, basically you're just looking for something with a lot of energy shield and evasion rating. And yeah, then I guess resistances, and since we are sort of stat stacking, I mean, I don't think we really are stat stacking, because when we take a look at our stats, only like 300 intelligence, 200 dex. So that's not really all that much. I don't know if you can call it a stat stacker, but I guess we can talk about the gloves next. But the whole point of the Hand of Wisdom in action in this build is basically it's just the best in slot pair of gloves, right? Because there's no other pair of gloves that's going to give you the same amount of damage as these, even with these very limited amount of stats. I mean, you could do a stat stacker, but the problem with stat stacking is that your helmet and your body slot are bad bases. So you're going to lose tons of your evasion, tons of your energy shield, and I don't know, maybe you could make it up somewhere, but it's going to be pretty hard to do. It's kind of why we're not really doing the stat stacking. And yeah, but anyway, so far it's been working out pretty good. Okay, so helmet. Do want to get a helmet with a lot of energy shield, because this helmet is going to be giving us evasion rating based on this subterfuge mask node over here. So this gives us 2 evasion rating per energy shield. So this helmet is actually giving me about 800 evasion ratings, which is pretty big. And then for the boots, I've decided to just go for a pure energy shield pair of boots, because the hybrid ones are, I guess you could do a hybrid pair of boots too if you want. I mean, I just had these right from my previous build, so I'm just using them. And it's working out okay. I mean, my evasion is about 8,000, and before, I guess once I level up, I think instead of pathing this way, we could path here for just 1 extra point and get another like 45% increased evasion. Then there is a nice 1 point node here for another 20% evasion, some movement speed. Instead of like pathing this way, you could cut this kind of stuff out and then come here, and you get quite a lot more evasion rating, some movement speed, and just connect this area here. And I was thinking of doing that, but only level 91. I think if you're like level 95 or that kind of stuff, you could do those kind of things and get quite a lot more evasion rating. But anyways, that's kind of what I'm working with right now. And as for the amulet, I'm still using the same amulet, but you can see I did actually spend the 7 divines to allocate the lightning rod node all the way down here. And that's kind of the reason why I guess in my old passive trees I would come down this way, because I want the reload speed, I want the lightning rod, and I also want the attribute stuff. But I don't know, kind of too many points to spend, and I think I will actually update the pure energy shield version to use a tree similar to this, because that build was also coming down here. But now that I do have lightning rod allocated on my amulet, it's definitely very worth it to actually just cut all this stuff out and go for all of the nice good like evasion energy shield nodes in this top right side of this, the passive tree. Okay, so rings, this is very important. So a lot of people ask me, why is my damage so high and why is, mine's super low and yours is like really high, right? And one of the big things is the rings. Well, obviously the belt does help a lot, but let's just take the belt off, right? So this belt gives quite a bit of damage, obviously, but more so than that, it's the rings. This one, I guess not so much. But this ring is pretty cracked because you can see lightning damage, increased lightning damage, and then we have dex and int. So this ring is like, I don't know, you notice it quite a bit more with the belt on. So actually insane ring, right? So getting your rings, very important. I would first of all prioritize the flat lightning damage and then the increased. Right, and then if you can get all elemental resistances on it, it's actually very nice because that does get scaled with the lightning catalyst. So you can see it's from 16 to 24. All right, so I actually bought a new crossbow I found. Was interested to test out these high attack speed, elemental damage with attack, focus kind of weapons. Since we are getting a lot of flat from the rings and the hand of wisdom in action, I did want to see if this is actually a bit more DPS, and it turns out this was actually maybe about 5,000 more damage, even though the actual flat on this is like 544, and the other one I was using before was like a 580. So actually this one turns out to be actually quite a bit more damage, even though it does have fire damage on it instead of lightning or fizz, right? So definitely the high attack speed, and then the wed seems to be the better option if you're doing stat stacking or you have a lot of flat damage, right? Because I guess in PoE you need to balance out your flat damage, your increased, and your more damage, right? We have quite a lot of more damage from all of our support gems, and we have a lot of flat damage from the rings, from the hand of wisdom in action, and I guess then from our crossbow. Yeah, the one thing we are sort of lacking is increased damage, and that probably will get fixed at some point, once if you do a lot of stat stacking, because you have like this node over here and some other things. But yeah, at the moment this does seem to be one of the better options. At least the fast attack speed, as you can see, definitely does feel really good to play with. Alright, so let's go over the passive tree. So you can see we are pretty much focused in the ranger monk area and branching out a little bit into the witch area. So that's why I was kind of saying that if you're playing this on a ranger, gonna be really easy to actually just reach this. You just save so many points over here. If you're playing it on monk, even better, because the monk starting nodes are just insane, right? We got skill speed, damage is extra, evasion, energy shield, very nice. So basically going all the way over here, and I think once I do level up, like I do want to take this node here, blur, pretty insane value node, and maybe you could even come down this way if you want to pick up this increased evasion area here, get a little bit more movement speed, evasion, and come connect this way. I think that'll work out pretty nicely, and you can cut all of this stuff out here, maybe even get rid of this, although the blind is pretty nice to have. Okay, and then we're just taking the usual kind of attack speed, dex kind of stuff, some evasion, and this would be another area where once I level up, I'll probably end up connecting this way for one more point instead of up here, because you gain quite a bit more evasion this way. Alright, then we got the usual herald stuff over here, some evasion energy shield nodes here. The subterfuge mask and spectral ward are pretty important for getting some more flat evasion and energy shield that we can then scale with all of the increased modifiers we get over here. So some more here, and then I think that's about it. There is some more energy shield nodes you can take here, although this is going to really lower your recharge speed, which I really didn't like on bosses. And I guess you could use Eternal Youth, but I did try this and I didn't like it either, so I've decided not to use it at all. Alright, so let's go over the Timeless Jewel over here, and then we'll go over the weapon swaps after that. So I'm using a Heroic Tragedy Timeless Jewel from Vorana, and that gives me the Circular Teachings node here, which converts any keystone that is affected by this radius, and basically just strength gives increased energy shield instead of life, pretty much. And this, you could see if we take it out, it's giving quite a decent amount of energy shield, maybe close to like 800, 900 energy shield. These are actually pretty pricey, but definitely not even really needed, because if I put in another one of these jewels, like with the increased energy shield, increased elemental damage, I'll be at about 5k ES, right? So not really even, maybe, one would say maybe it's not that worth it, but you can get some pretty nice nodes on some of them. So like this one here, Verana's Fury, this one gives me 40% increased projectile damage. There's one for 40% increased lightning damage, which is pretty nice as well. So, but yeah, definitely something you don't really need to get right away, and something you can kind of buy as like a, you know, upgrade down the line if you kind of do like this build, I guess, right? Now there is one for evasion, and I think I sold the ones I had, but the problem with that one is you're just gonna have pretty much like no mana. You have like 300 mana, and when, you know, shock burst rounds is costing like 200 mana per reload, it's pretty awkward, right? So in the end, I chose the energy shield one because, yeah, you don't have the mana problems, and you do get quite a bit more energy shield. Okay, so every single jewel I have they're going to be the same as the ones in the previous build, so it's just increased energy shield and increased elemental damage. Those are the only two mods that I'm looking for. And then bonus mods are going to be increased magnitude of shock, pretty important to give us like quite a lot more shock, so we get up to 100% shock. And then after that there is I think mana on kill might be nice, and then there is like these ones here with the energy shield as stun threshold or increased freeze threshold's pretty nice as well. Another thing that's also really nice is the meta skills gain increased energy, because right now, since we're you know, we're shocking with the Stormcaller arrow, but it's not proccing the cast on shock in one shock, and it is probably possible to get it in one shock. Right now for me it was like 69 to like 70% per shock without any increase like meta skills gain increased energy. So probably with a few increased energy gems you could probably get it to proc off one shock, which would be pretty nice, like quality of life. But yeah, that's pretty much the jewels. Let's go over the weapon swaps. Pretty much the way we're doing it is we're separating our main damage skill and our crossbow with the bow, so we can have some damage modifiers on the crossbow, and then a lot of kind of buffs, you could say, on the second one. So I'm doing a lot of shock magnitude nodes over here. We have some more shock magnitude nodes here, and then right now I'm traveling down to get these ones here as well, so our shocks have a lot of increased duration and increased magnitude. So using all 24 points to actually do that swap. Then we just pick up like whatever, you know, attack damage nodes and this kind of stuff on our crossbow. And yeah, that's pretty much the tree. You can go check it out on Mobalytics. And I think that's it for that. So let's go over the skills. These skills haven't really changed much from the previous versions of the build. Oh, and I should probably support my source reward. I keep forgetting this because every time you unspec it, it deletes your support gems. But I have the lightning infusion, cold infusion, fire infusion in this, so we get some extra levels on our source reward. Okay, so galvanic shards using innervate, and then fork, primal armament, nimble reload. So since I don't have the reload stuff from the passive tree over here, I've decided to put it into the crossbow, to galvanic shards, because galvanic shards without this reloads is about like what, 0.78 seconds. The shock burst rounds is 0.6, right? So not as bad, but yeah, when you're clearing, it definitely does sort of make a difference when you do have it in the galvanic shards. I think for shock burst rounds it's okay to not really have it, but I mean ideally having very low reload speed is gonna be good. But you can see the shock burst rounds reload time is already 0.48 seconds, so I think that is fast enough for me, at least right now. Okay, so finally, and then what I'm doing is I'm just swapping these around, right? Because, you know, I want to have fast attack speed when I'm clearing maps, and then when I do bosses or pinnacle bosses, I'll just swap it like this. If you don't really want to swap, then I recommend you probably put just put heft in galvanic shards. All right, so the rest of the skills are pretty self-explanatory, I think. So I'll just skip the explanation, and you can go check it out on the Mobalytics page if you're interested. Alright, so let's talk about the weapon swap sets. So since I don't really have enough spirit to run everything on both weapon sets, what I'm doing is I have Wind Dancer, Herald of Thunder, Grim Feast all active on only weapon set 1. I guess you can have Wind Dancer or Herald of Thunder active on weapon set 2 as well, because when we swap over, we need to enable Cast on Shock, which is 60 spirit, so we have room for one more something. Right now I just have Herald of Thunder. You can see the Wind Dancer stacks actually do carry over, so but I guess you could have Wind Dancer here instead of Herald of Thunder. Now you could actually get more spirit. You can get spirit on body armor, on your amulet, and then you could run Ghost Dance. It's only 30 spirit. So if you got 30 spirit, either on the body armor, on the amulet, or corruption on the helmet, then you could be running Ghost Dance, which is going to give you some nice sustain. But honestly, don't really think you actually need it, because you can see the map showcase, we didn't even go below 5,000 energy shield in the breaches. Alright, so I think we covered everything. Yeah, so that'll be it for the video, guys. We'll have the breach run after this, and probably next I'm going to go revisit the energy shield version, see if we can get to maybe 12k, maybe 15k ES, because in breaches, I mean, okay, for mapping, this evasion setup definitely is like #1, I'd say, but I think also, yeah, due to my low evasion rating and not having acrobatics, and also I guess this builds DPS, you know, since we're not like really fully going all in on like stacking, stat stacking, that kind of stuff, it is a little bit low. The bosses do have time to actually get off a lot of their abilities, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, I died quite a few times in these breaches on the T4 boss. Well, it's not in the breach, but the T4 breach boss, because all of his, pretty much all of his spells are like physical AoE that you can't evade, right? So sorcery board doesn't really do much in that fight. But anyways, yeah, but yeah, so the pure energy shield version, when I tried one time with like 10,000 ES, and it was actually pretty comfy. A lot of things just couldn't kill you at all. So might try that again, see if we can get like really high energy shield with this new passive tree setup. But yeah, that'll be it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
We that dreamed, we in nightmare, we that are one. She of wisdom and action.